We often talk about the hundreds, likely thousands of volunteers that go on to putting the Stampede show, Calgary Stampede, on every year. And that includes even the top rungs. We're talking about the presidents, the first chair, and that's who I'm with right now. First vice chair and incoming president, Dana Peers, dropping by. Dana, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Your volunteering goes way back. Do you remember the first position you volunteered here at the Calgary Stampede?
Absolutely. I started out as a mascot with Downtown Attractions, so it was a lot of fun, and I realized at that point in time downtown, meeting all the tourists and all the people from all over the world, what a responsibility that I felt that I had to make sure that they enjoyed their vacation.
What was the mascot? What were you?
It varied. We had about 8 different ones, but I was usually a short, grumpy-looking cowboy.
You know what? I just tip my cowboy hat to any mascot for the Stampede, especially if we're looking at days where it is 30 degrees and if they're in those outfits. So that grew to many other volunteer positions.
Absolutely. Started serving breakfast with Downtown Attractions as well. Later became the chairman of that committee, and was very fortunate 8 years ago to be elected to the board.
Elected to the board, some people might not realize that this is a big commitment. Lay it out for me. You were elected to the board, and then kind of the path that you take to ultimately next year will be the president and chair.
Yeah, so our volunteers, our shareholders elect the board. I was then, after being elected to the board, elected by the board itself to be an elected officer. That path is actually an 8-year path, so you do 2 years as the second vice chairman, and 2 years as the first vice chairman, then 2 years as the president and chairman of the board, and followed by 2 years as the past president. So quite a great succession plan, actually.
Well, every year we're trying to make the Calgary Stampede better. When we talk about tourists from all over the world, do we also ultimately have our biggest tourists are the ones right here in Calgary that have to support the Calgary Stampede?
That's exactly right. We know that, in fact, the majority of our visitors are local and they're Calgarians, and the Calgary Stampede is focused on engaging our community. I mean, that's really been our task for the last 106 years.
So when you take over next year as president, what are some things that you hope are part of your vision for the 2 years that you're going to be the president?
Well, the first thing that each president gets to do is determine the direction for the iconic Stampede poster. So as that, I've taken it in a completely different direction. So for the first time in 2019, the iconic Calgary Stampede poster will be done by a young student here in the province, and it's actually a scholarship program. So we've been working with these kids around the province for the past year, and come October, when we release the 2019 poster, it'll be a young student from Alberta.
I love it. Public art that people might not be upset about. Okay, so then more physical things. What have we seen? I always talk about how the Indian Village, and it's getting a new name as of Sunday. I'm interested to find out what that's going to be. But some of the things that people might start to experience right down here on the grounds. What can we expect in the next few years?
So this is an ideal time to actually be in my role, because we're halfway through a 20-year master plan. We're at that sort of 10-year mark. Of course, our vision is to create a year-round gathering place for the community here in Calgary, and so we've seen the development of things such as you just said, NMAX Park and the Indian Village. Certainly, Youth Campus is coming out of the ground with Calgary Arts Academy. We've had the Transalta Performing Arts Centre open. We're getting now to a point where we'll see Walton Hall open. We just had the BMO Amphitheatre open. I'm looking forward to the Sam Centre, which will be the Stampede's own museum dedicated to our Western heritage and culture. And so there's a lot of wonderful things happening here on Park.
Who knows? There might even be an arena down the road. We won't go down that road. Dana, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Dana Peers, Calgary Stampede first vice chair and incoming president. Let's check that drive home.